The phone rang at midnight. County General Hospital. My son Danny was in intensive care after a severe car accident. My heart hammered as I sped through empty streets, praying with every breath. I burst into the ICU floor, desperate to see my boy. But as I rushed toward his room, a nurse grabbed my arm. Her name tag read Emma. She whispered urgently, her eyes wide with terror. "Mr. Shelby, you need to hide right now. Trust me. Go into that supply room and don't come out until I get you." I froze, completely confused. Everything in me wanted to push past her and get to Danny. My son was fighting for his life 20 feet away, and this stranger was telling me to hide in a closet. But something in Emma's expression stopped me cold. It wasn't just concern. It was fear. Raw. Genuine fear. "Please," she whispered again, glancing down the hallway. "I don't have time to explain. If you want to help your son, you need to trust me right now." I looked past her, toward Danny's room. The door was closed. Machines beeped steadily from inside. My boy was in there, broken and hurting, and I was standing here in a hallway having a bizarre conversation with a nurse I'd never met. But her grip on my arm was desperate. Her eyes pleaded with me. Against every instinct, I nodded. She pulled me quickly across the hall into a small supply room. Shelves lined with medical supplies, boxes of gloves, bottles of solutions. She positioned me behind the door, leaving it cracked open just an inch. "Don't move. Don't make a sound. I'll come back for you," she breathed, then disappeared. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I could see a narrow slice of the hallway through the crack. Danny's room was directly across from me. What was happening? Why was I hiding? Then I heard footsteps, high heels clicking on linoleum. Through the crack, I saw my daughter-in-law Courtney approaching. She was dressed expensively as always, her blonde hair perfect, despite the late hour. But she wasn't alone. A man walked beside her. Tall, late 30s, wearing hospital scrubs. I'd never seen him before. They moved quickly, purposefully, looking around as they walked. Something about their body language made my skin crawl. They weren't walking like a grieving wife and her husband's doctor. They were walking like conspirators. They reached Danny's door and paused. Courtney glanced up and down the hallway once more. The man touched her lower back, a gesture too familiar, too intimate. Then they slipped inside Danny's room and closed the door. I stood frozen in the supply closet, my breath coming in short gasps. What was I watching? Who was this man? Minutes crawled by. The hallway stayed empty. Then the door to Danny's room opened slightly. I could hear their voices, low and urgent. I pressed closer to the crack, straining to hear. Should have finished it in the crash. The man's voice, frustrated. Courtney's voice, cold and calculating. "We couldn't make it too obvious. This is better. Cleaner." "When do you want to do it?" the man asked. "Tonight. The dose I brought will stop his heart within minutes. It'll look like his injuries were just too severe." My blood turned to ice. I stopped breathing. Surely I'd misheard. Surely they weren't discussing what I thought they were discussing. "And the life insurance pays double for accidental death," Courtney continued. $3.2 million, plus his business assets. Another $2 million easily. "We'll finally have everything we need," the man said. I heard them move closer to the door. 6 months from now, we'll be on a beach somewhere, and this will all be a memory. They were talking about killing my son, my Danny. Courtney and this stranger were planning to murder him tonight, right here in his hospital bed, and make it look like he'd died from his injuries. The crash hadn't been an accident. They'd caused it. And now they were going to finish what they started. My hand moved toward the door handle. I was going to burst in there, stop them, kill them both with my bare hands if I had to. But a hand grabbed my wrist. Emma. She'd appeared silently behind me, her face pale. She shook her head frantically, pulling me back from the door. "Not yet," she breathed directly into my ear. "You need proof, or they'll destroy you." She pulled me deeper into the supply room, as Courtney and the man emerged from Danny's room. Through the crack, I watched them walk back down the hallway, their heads close together, talking quietly. The moment they turned the corner, Emma shut the door completely and turned to me. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice shaking. "I know this is horrible, but you need to understand what you're dealing with. Who is that man?" My voice came out strangled. "Dr. Trevor Hayes. He's an ICU physician. He's been having an affair with your daughter-in-law for at least 6 months. I've seen them together. Always secretive, always careful. But I've noticed things." My mind was reeling. Danny's crash. They caused it. Emma nodded. "I suspected something was wrong the moment your son was admitted 3 days ago. His injuries didn't match a simple car accident. The toxicology report showed unusual compounds in his system, things that could cause disorientation, slowed reflexes. I flagged it to the attending physician, but he dismissed it. Said it could be anything. Medications Danny was taking, stress. But I've been a trauma nurse for 20 years. I know what drug-induced impairment looks like. Why didn't you go to the police? With what evidence? Suspicions? A feeling? I'm a nurse. They're a grieving wife and a respected physician. Who would believe me?" She looked at me with desperate eyes. But when I heard them talking earlier today in the medication room, I knew I was right. They didn't see me. I was behind a supply cart. They were discussing the timeline and making sure there were no complications this time. It made me sick. But I still didn't have proof. Then tonight, when I saw you rushing toward his room, I knew if you confronted them now, they'd spin it. They'd make you look like a crazy, grieving father. They'd have you removed, maybe arrested, and Danny would still die. I leaned against the wall, feeling like the floor was tilting. My son's wife wants him dead, for insurance money. I'm afraid it's worse than that, Mr. Shelby. I checked your son's medical directives this afternoon. Courtney is his healthcare proxy. She can make all decisions about his treatment. If she decides to withdraw life support, she can, legally. And there's nothing you can do to stop her. Emma and I stood in that supply room, formulating a desperate plan. We needed to catch them, in the act with undeniable evidence. Emma would monitor everything from the nurse's station and document every suspicious action. I would stay hidden, but ready to intervene the moment Danny's life was in immediate danger. "Do you have your phone?" Emma asked. I pulled it out. My hand was shaking. "Good. Record everything you can. Every conversation, every interaction. We need to build a case that's absolutely airtight." She checked her watch. "I need to get back to the station before anyone notices I'm gone. Stay here. Don't leave this room until I text you. Understand?" I nodded. She slipped out, leaving me alone with my terror. For the next hour, I watched through that crack in the door. Nurses came and went. A doctor I didn't recognize checked on Danny. Everything looked normal. Routine. But I knew better now. I knew what was lurking beneath the surface of this ordinary hospital floor. Around 2 in the morning, Courtney and Dr. Hayes returned. This time, Courtney was alone when she entered Danny's room. She stayed for 10 minutes. Through the crack, I could see her standing by his bed. From my angle, I couldn't see Danny, but I could see her face. There were tears on her cheeks. She was playing the part of the devastated wife perfectly. When she emerged, she dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. A passing nurse stopped to comfort her. Courtney leaned into the embrace, sobbing. The nurse patted her back, said something kind. Courtney nodded bravely, thanked her, and walked toward the elevator. But she didn't get on the elevator. She took the stairs, and 30 seconds later, Dr. Hayes followed her. I pulled out my phone and crept out of the supply room, moved quietly to the stairwell door, opened it just a crack. They were one flight down, pressed against each other, kissing. My stomach turned. "Did you give him the first dose?" Hayes asked when they broke apart. "Half. Just to make sure he stays disoriented. The rest tonight, like we planned. Make it look gradual. You played that perfectly just now, the grieving wife. That nurse completely bought it." Courtney laughed. The sound was cold. Nothing like the warm woman who'd married my son 3 years ago. Or maybe she'd always been this, and I'd been too blind to see it. By tomorrow morning, Danny will be gone, and we'll be free. $3.2 million in life insurance, $2 million in business assets, and all that sweet property he owned. We're looking at close to $6 million total, Trevor. $6 million. And then we disappear. For a while. Let things cool down. Then we surface somewhere new. Maybe the Caribbean. You always said you wanted to practice medicine somewhere tropical. They kissed again. I recorded every second. Every word. Every gesture. Then Hayes checked his watch. I need to get back. Got rounds in 20 minutes. You should go home, get some rest. Make sure you look exhausted tomorrow when his condition takes that final turn. They separated. Hayes went up the stairs, back to the ICU floor. Courtney continued down, heading for the parking garage. I stood in the stairwell, my heart hammering, my phone clutched in my sweating hand. I had it. I had them on video discussing murder. This was evidence. This was proof. I started to move, to head back to the ICU floor, to find Emma and figure out our next move. But then, the stairwell door above me banged open. Sir, stop right there. Hospital security. 2 guards, both large, both serious. Sir, we need you to come with us. What? No, you don't understand. I just recorded evidence of attempted murder. My son, in the ICU, his wife and his doctor are planning to kill him tonight. The guards exchanged glances. One of them spoke into his radio. We have him. Bringing him to administration now. They flanked me, each taking an arm. Not violent, but firm. Unstoppable. Wait, please, just look at my phone. I have video evidence. Sir, you need to come with us right now. You're not supposed to be in this hospital. They walked me through a series of hallways, away from the ICU, toward the administrative offices. My mind raced. How did they know I was here? How did they find me? We entered a conference room. A woman in a dark suit sat at the table, looking severe and unamused. Her nameplate read, Director of Hospital Security. Mr. Shelby? She said. Yes, but listen. My son is in danger. His wife and Dr. Hayes, they're planning to kill him. I have evidence on my phone. She held up a hand. Mr. Shelby, I need you to sit down and listen very carefully. I sat, still clutching my phone. The door opened again. Dr. Hayes walked in, looking concerned and professional. My blood boiled. That's him, I shouted. That's the man who's planning to murder my son. Hayes looked at the security director with sad, sympathetic eyes. I'm so sorry about this. As I explained on the phone, Mr. Shelby has been making these accusations for several days now. We've tried to be understanding given the circumstances with his son, but tonight he violated hospital policy by harassing staff and trespassing. I'm not trespassing. I'm trying to save my son's life. The security director slid a piece of paper across the table. It was a printout of text messages. From a number I didn't recognize. To Dr. Hayes. Threatening messages. Accusations. Rants about Courtney. I never sent these, I said. They came from your phone number, Mr. Shelby. Someone spoofed my number. Or hacked my phone. I don't know. But it wasn't me. The door opened again. Courtney walked in, her eyes red from crying, her face the picture of anguish. I'm so sorry, she said to the room. I know this is difficult for everyone, but I need you to understand. Shelby and Danny had a terrible falling out about 18 months ago. Over money. Over the family business. Danny had to cut his father out because Shelby was making reckless decisions that were endangering the company. Since then, Shelby has been making threats, saying Danny would pay for this, that he'd make Danny sorry. I have emails. I have voicemails. Danny and I went to a lawyer about it, actually. 6 months ago. We were considering a restraining order, but Danny didn't want to escalate things with his father. I stared at her. She was lying. Yes, Danny and I had argued about the business. Yes, I'd been concerned about how much money Courtney was spending, how she was influencing Danny's decisions. But I'd never threatened him. Never said those things. But even as I sat there denying it, I realized with horror that parts of what she said were true. We had argued. We hadn't spoken much in the past 18 months. Our relationship had been strained. She was taking true facts and twisting them into a narrative that made me look unstable, dangerous. I would never hurt my son, I said, but my voice sounded weak even to myself. The security director looked at me with something like pity. Mr. Shelby, given the evidence, We're issuing a no trespass order. You're banned from this hospital effective immediately. If you return, you'll be arrested for trespassing. Do you understand? But my son, your daughter-in-law is his legal, next of kin and healthcare proxy. She'll make decisions about his care. You have no legal standing here. Please, I begged. Just look at the video on my phone. Please. Dr. Hayes spoke up. I think we should respect Mr. Shelby's privacy and not examine his phone. He's clearly going through a difficult time. What he needs is support. And perhaps counseling, not to have his personal property searched. It was brilliant. By pretending to protect my privacy, he was preventing anyone from seeing the evidence I'd gathered. The security guards escorted me out of the building, out to the parking lot, into my truck. They watched until I drove away. I made it 3 blocks before I had to pull over. My hands were shaking too badly to drive. I sat in my truck, in a gas station parking lot at 3 in the morning, and realized I'd lost. They'd outmaneuvered me completely. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. I'm so sorry. They're too powerful. Be careful. I sat in that gas station parking lot as the sun rose, trying to figure out what to do next. My son was dying in a hospital where I was banned. His wife was planning his murder. A respected doctor was her accomplice. And I'd been painted as an unstable, threatening father. Around 7 in the morning, I drove home. My house felt foreign, wrong. I made coffee I couldn't drink, tried to eat toast that tasted like cardboard, kept checking my phone for updates from Emma. I called the police non-emergency line, explained the situation as calmly as I could. The officer who answered was polite, but clearly skeptical. Sir, what you're describing sounds like a family dispute. The hospital has issued a trespass order, which suggests there's been some kind of conflict. I'd recommend you file a formal report in person at the station, but I'll be honest with you. Without concrete evidence of an actual crime, there's not much we can do. Your daughter-in-law has legal authority over your son's medical care, but I have video evidence. Then bring that when you file your report. An officer will review it. I hung up feeling helpless. I looked at the video on my phone. In the dark stairwell, the audio was clear, but the video was grainy. You could hear their voices, hear them discussing doses and life insurance, and making it look gradual. But would it be enough? They could claim they were discussing something else, or that I'd doctored the audio. Hayes was a respected physician. Courtney was a grieving wife. I was a banned, allegedly threatening father. I spent the morning researching Courtney online. I'd never done it before. Why would I? She was my son's wife. I'd trusted her. But now I looked at everything with new eyes. She claimed to be from Portland, Oregon. Said she'd moved to our town 5 years ago for work. Met Danny 2 years later. They'd married quickly, within 6 months. At the time, I'd thought it was romantic. Young love. Now I wondered if it had been calculated. I searched for her maiden name, Courtney Morrison. Found a few hits on social media, but they all started around 5 years ago. Nothing before that, like she hadn't existed before moving here. That was strange. Everyone has a digital history these days. High school photos, college memories, old jobs, something. But Courtney's past was blank. I tried searching for her in Portland specifically. Found nothing. Tried Oregon marriage records, birth records, nothing. It was like she'd appeared out of nowhere 5 years ago. My phone rang around noon. A number I didn't recognize. I answered, Mr. Shelby? This is Nancy, from St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. I'm calling because we received a very concerning donation request in your name this morning. It's for a memorial fund for your son Danny. The note says he passed away last night. Ice flooded my veins. Danny isn't dead. He's in the hospital. Who made this request? Oh my goodness. It came through our online system. I'll need to check the details, but it had your name and contact information. I'm so relieved he's okay. I'll cancel this immediately. After she hung up, I sat staring at my phone. Someone was already setting up memorial funds in Danny's name, before he was even dead, laying the groundwork for his death, as though it were inevitable. My phone buzzed. Emma, Danny took a critical turn this morning. They're saying he may not make it through the day. Courtney authorized comfort measures only. I'm so sorry. I called Emma immediately. She answered in a whisper. I can't talk long. But you need to know, someone added something to his IV around 5 this morning. I checked the medication logs. There's a discrepancy. I reported it to the night supervisor, but Dr. Hayes explained it away as a necessary intervention for Danny's declining condition. My complaint got turned around on me. Now they're saying I made an error in my own documentation. They're investigating me for negligence. Emma, they're framing you too. I know. I'm terrified. If Danny dies, they're going to blame me. Say I made mistakes in his care. Her voice cracked. I could lose my license. Go to prison. We'll figure this out. We'll stop them. But even as I said it, I didn't know how. That afternoon, a process server came to my door. Official papers. Courtney had filed for an emergency restraining order. The document claimed I'd been stalking her, making threatening phone calls, harassing her at the hospital, and that my behavior was causing additional stress during an already traumatic time. The court had granted a temporary order. I had to stay 500 feet away from Courtney, from Danny, and from County General Hospital. A hearing would be scheduled within 2 weeks to determine if the order should be permanent. If I violated the order, I'd be arrested immediately. I called the lawyer my business had used for years, left a message. He called back an hour later. Shelby, I heard about Danny. I'm so sorry, but I need to be straight with you. Restraining order cases are tough, especially when the other party is claiming harassment during a medical crisis. And overriding a spouse's medical proxy rights is nearly impossible without evidence of clear misconduct. We could fight this, but it would take weeks, maybe months. Does Danny have that kind of time? No. Then I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. That evening, Emma texted me again. Courtney signed a DNR for Danny. Do not resuscitate. If his heart stops, they'll let him die. I sat in my house. My son dying 6 miles away, and I couldn't do anything to save him. Every avenue was blocked. Every move I made, they countered. It was like playing chess against someone who could see all my moves before I made them. Around midnight, my phone rang. Another unknown number. Mr. Shelby? My name is Gerald Morrison. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about your daughter-in-law. Gerald Morrison flew in from Portland the next day. We met at a diner 30 miles from my town, far from anyone who might recognize me. He was in his early 50s, thick-shouldered, with tired eyes that had seen too much grief. I've been tracking Courtney for 6 years, he said after we ordered coffee. Ever since she killed my brother. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents, police reports, insurance claims, news articles. My brother Marcus married Courtney 7 years ago. Or at least, that's what she was calling herself then. They met at a conference in Seattle. 6 months later, they were married. 2 years after that, Marcus drowned on a fishing trip. I looked at the police report. Accidental drowning. Marcus Morrison, age 34, went fishing alone, boat capsized, body found 3 days later. Marcus was a competitive swimmer, Gerald continued. Varsity in high school, swam in college. The idea that he drowned in a calm lake in his own fishing boat never made sense. I told the police something was wrong. They investigated, found nothing suspicious. Courtney inherited everything. $800,000 in life insurance, their house, his savings. She cleaned out his accounts and disappeared within 3 months. Did you try to find her? I hired a private investigator. Cost me $20,000. Got nowhere. She'd vanished completely. Changed her name, probably her appearance too. I tracked her for a year, then lost the trail. Until 2 weeks ago. What happened 2 weeks ago? I set up news alerts years ago for certain keywords. Life insurance payouts, accidental deaths, widows, long shot. But I had to try something. Got an alert about a woman in your town who's been posting on social media about her husband's tragic car accident, asking for prayers, setting up donation funds. I saw her photo, and I knew. That's Courtney. Different hair color, different style, but same face. I'd know her anywhere. I felt sick. She did this before, this exact thing. I believe she's done it more than once, honestly. That's her pattern. She finds a target, someone successful with money, marries them fast, stays long enough to not look suspicious, then engineers an accident and collects the insurance. I think Marcus was just one in a series. We spent the next 3 hours going through Gerald's research. He documented everything. The suspicious details of Marcus's death, the insurance payout, the gaps in Courtney's history before she met Marcus. Have you taken this to the police? I asked. Local police won't touch it. It happened 7 years ago in a different state. They say without new evidence, there's nothing they can do. Marcus's death was ruled accidental. Case closed. What about the FBI? This crosses state lines. I contacted them last year. They said I'd need more than suspicion and coincidence. They need evidence of an actual crime. Something prosecutable. I showed him the video I'd taken in the hospital stairwell. He watched it 3 times. This is good, he said. This is really good. Combined with Marcus's case, this establishes a pattern. But you need to be careful. If Courtney realizes you have this, she'll destroy you. She's smart. She's done this before. She knows how to manipulate systems. She's already destroying me, I said, and told him about the restraining order, the trespass ban, the way I'd been painted as an unstable, threatening father. Gerald nodded grimly. That's her playbook. Isolate the target, discredit anyone who might interfere, then execute. We need to move fast. We decided to take everything to the FBI field office 2 hours north. Gerald had contacts there from his previous attempts to investigate Marcus's death. Maybe with the new evidence from Danny's situation, they'd take it seriously. But as I drove home that night, things got worse. I opened my email to find notifications. Someone had posted from my Facebook account, my Twitter account, my LinkedIn. Angry, rambling posts about Courtney, about the hospital, threatening language. Screenshots of these posts were already circulating on local social media. People I knew were commenting, shocked and concerned. Shelby, are you okay? This doesn't sound like you. Someone needs to do a wellness check on this man. I hadn't written any of it. Someone had hacked my accounts. I tried to log in to delete the posts, but my passwords had been changed. I was locked out of my own social media. My phone rang. My daughter, Danny's younger sister. Dad, what is going on? I just saw your Facebook posts. You're threatening Courtney? You're talking about the hospital conspiring against you? Dad, this isn't like you. Are you having some kind of breakdown? Sweetheart, I didn't write those posts. Someone hacked my accounts. Dad, they're coming from your IP address. I checked. How did she know how to check that? Unless someone had told her to. Unless someone had given her that information, specifically to use against me. Listen to me very carefully, I said. Danny is in danger. His wife is trying to kill him. I know it sounds crazy, but I have evidence. I need you to trust me. There was a long silence. Dad, Courtney called me yesterday. She's really worried about you. She said you've been acting paranoid, making wild accusations. She thinks you're having some kind of mental health crisis brought on by stress about Danny. She wanted me to know in case you contacted me. She's trying to protect me from you, upsetting me. And you believed her over me? Dad, you and Danny haven't spoken in over a year. You've been angry about the business, about Courtney's spending. I know you never liked her, but Danny is dying, and instead of being there for him, you're harassing his wife and making crazy conspiracy theories. Mom would be ashamed of you. That hit like a physical blow. My wife, Danny's mother, had died 8 years ago from cancer. The idea that she'd be ashamed of me for trying to save our son was unbearable. I'm going to support Courtney through this, my daughter continued. She needs family right now, and I think you need help, Dad. Professional help. I love you, but I can't be part of whatever this is. She hung up. I sat in my driveway, feeling my family disintegrate around me. My daughter thought I was crazy. My son was dying. My reputation was being systematically destroyed. Around 3 a.m, my phone buzzed. Emma. They fired me. Said I violated patient privacy by discussing Danny's case. Said I was insubordinate and made false accusations against Dr. Hayes. They're reporting me to the state licensing board. I could lose my nursing license permanently. Emma, I'm so sorry. I'm scared. I don't have money for a lawyer. If they take my license, I can't work. I'll lose everything. She was crying. And Danny's getting worse. Whatever they're giving him, it's working. He's barely conscious. His organs are starting to fail. Courtney told the ICU staff yesterday that she wants to make him comfortable, let him go peacefully. She's authorized morphine. High doses, enough to suppress his breathing. He might not make it through the weekend. I wanted to scream, to put my fist through a wall, to drive to that hospital and carry my son out myself. But I couldn't. I was trapped, helpless, watching my son die from 6 miles away. The next morning, police arrived at my door with a warrant for my arrest. The charges were cyberstalking, criminal harassment, and violation of the restraining order. Someone had reported seeing me near the hospital the previous evening. I hadn't been anywhere near the hospital. I'd been at the diner meeting Gerald, then home. But there were witnesses. 3 hospital employees who swore they'd seen me in the parking lot taking photos of the building. The witnesses were all friends of Dr. Hayes. All worked in the ICU. All gave matching statements. Security footage from the parking lot was conveniently missing due to a technical glitch. They arrested me, read me my rights, took me to county jail, booked me, fingerprints, mugshot, the whole process. Put me in a holding cell with 2 other men who'd been arrested for drunk driving. I called my lawyer from the jail phone. He sounded exhausted. Shelby, this is bad. Really bad. They've built a compelling case that you're harassing Courtney during a family tragedy. The social media posts, the witnesses, the violation of the restraining order. A judge is going to look at this and see a pattern of escalating behavior. I didn't violate the order. I wasn't at the hospital. Can you prove where you were? I was meeting someone at a diner 30 miles away. Can this person verify that? Yes. Gerald Morrison. He flew in from Portland. There was a pause. Why were you meeting someone from out of town? He has information about Courtney, about crimes she committed before she married Danny. Another pause, longer this time. Shelby, please tell me you're not conducting some kind of vigilante investigation. I'm trying to save my son's life by making yourself look like an obsessed conspiracy theorist. Do you understand how this looks? You're banned from the hospital. You're under a restraining order. You're meeting secretly with people from out of town to dig up dirt on your daughter-in-law while your son is dying. No judge is going to side with you. I posted bail the next morning. It cost me $30,000, nearly wiping out my savings. I walked out of that jail into morning sunlight feeling like a ghost, like I'd somehow slipped out of my real life into a nightmare version, where everything was backwards and wrong. The local news had picked up the story. Father arrested for harassing dying son's wife. There was my mugshot. My name. A brief interview with Courtney where she stood outside the hospital, tears streaming down her face, talking about how difficult this was, how she was just trying to care for her husband, while dealing with harassment from his unstable father. She was perfect, sympathetic, heartbroken. Every word was calculated to make her look like a victim, and me look like a monster. My business partners called, suggested I take a leave of absence, for my own good, until things settled down. I heard the unspoken message. We don't want your scandal attached to our company. Friends stopped calling. Neighbors avoided eye contact. My daughter wouldn't answer my calls. I was being erased, isolated, discredited. Everything I'd built over 70 years of life was crumbling. Gerald came to my house that afternoon. We sat in my kitchen drinking coffee neither of us wanted. I've been in touch with the FBI, he said. Sent them everything we have. Video, documents, timeline. They're interested, but investigations take time. Weeks, maybe months. Danny doesn't have weeks. I know. We sat in silence. Outside, a neighbor walked past with her dog. She glanced at my house and quickly looked away. There's something else, Gerald said. I kept digging into Courtney's past. Found something. About 4 years ago, in Arizona, a man named Carl Bennett died in a hiking accident. Fell from a cliff. His widow's name was Christine. I found an old photo from a news article about the accident. The photo is grainy, but I'd swear it's Courtney. He showed me his phone. A newspaper article. Local man dies in tragic fall. The photo showed a woman comforting her husband's grieving mother. The image was small and blurry, but the bone structure was right. The way she held herself. It could absolutely be Courtney. If that's her, she's done this at least 3 times, I said. Marcus, Carl, now Danny. I called Carl's sister Patricia. She lives in Nevada now. I'm waiting for her to call me back. If she can identify Courtney, we might have enough for the FBI to open a formal investigation. But even as he said it, I could see the doubt in his eyes. We both knew how slow the system moved, how much proof they'd need, how long it would take. That evening, Emma called. Danny signed papers today, she said, her voice hollow. He was semi-conscious. Courtney was there with documents. He signed them, made her sole heir to his business, his property, everything. $2 million worth of assets, just handed to her. How could he sign anything? You said he was barely conscious. He was coherent enough, legally speaking. Courtney had a notary there, made it all official, and she'd been talking to him all day, while he was drugged and confused, telling him how much she loved him, how they needed to get their affairs in order, how his father had abandoned him. Danny signed everything she put in front of him. I closed my eyes. How much longer does he have? Hours, maybe. A day at most. His organs are shutting down. The morphine is suppressing his respiratory system. Courtney authorized a DNR. When his heart stops, we won't resuscitate. He'll just slip away. After she hung up, I sat alone in my house. My son was going to die tonight or tomorrow. Die believing his father had abandoned him. Die never knowing his wife had murdered him. And I couldn't stop it. Couldn't even be there with him. Couldn't hold his hand or tell him I loved him or beg his forgiveness for failing to protect him. I thought about my wife. About what she'd say if she were here. She'd always been braver than me. Stronger. She'd know what to do. But she was gone. And I was alone. And my son was dying. I sat there until midnight, staring at nothing, feeling the weight of my failures crushing me. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Shelby? A woman's voice, uncertain. My name is Patricia Bennett. Gerald Morrison gave me your number. I need to talk to you about my brother Carl. Patricia Bennett talked fast, her words tumbling over each other, like she'd been holding them in for years. My brother died 4 years ago. Hiking accident in Sedona. He fell from a cliff, but Carl was an experienced hiker. He'd done that trail dozens of times. It never made sense to me. And his wife, Christine, she'd only been married to him for 2 years. Right after he died, she collected $600,000 in life insurance and vanished. I tried to find her. Hired investigators. Nothing. Until yesterday, when Gerald sent me photos of your daughter-in-law, and my heart was pounding. That's her. I'm absolutely certain. Different hair, different name, but that's Christine. That's the woman who killed my brother. We talked for an hour. Patricia sent me photos of Carl and Christine, insurance documents, police reports. The pattern was identical. Quick marriage. Isolated the victim from family. Engineered an accident. Collected insurance. Disappeared. Courtney had done this at least 3 times. Maybe more. She was a serial killer who specialized in making murder look like accidents. With Patricia's information, Gerald's documentation about Marcus, and my evidence about Danny, we finally had something substantial. A pattern. Multiple victims. Evidence of premeditation. Gerald contacted the FBI agent he'd been working with. Sent everything. The agent called him back within an hour. This is solid, the agent said. We're opening a formal investigation. But I need you to understand, this will take time. We need to verify everything. Coordinate with local police in multiple jurisdictions. Build a case that will stand up in court. We're talking weeks minimum. The victim doesn't have weeks, Gerald explained. He's dying right now. Then you need to get local police to do a welfare check. If there's an immediate threat to his life, they can intervene. I called the police. Explained everything. The detective I spoke with listened carefully. Sir, I understand your concern, but what you're describing is attempted murder involving a respected physician at a major hospital. That's a serious allegation. I'll need to consult with my supervisor. Someone will call you back. Hours passed. No call back. I tried again. Different detective. Same response. They'd look into it. Someone would get back to me. But Danny didn't have time for bureaucracy. He didn't have time for people to look into things. Around 2 in the morning, Emma texted me. They're moving up the timeline. Courtney and Hayes are in Danny's room right now. Hayes has a syringe. This is it. They're going to do it tonight. I stared at that message. My son had maybe minutes left to live. I called 911. 911. What's your emergency? My son is being murdered right now at County General Hospital. His wife and his doctor are killing him. You need to send police immediately. The operator's voice stayed calm. Sir, can you tell me your location? I'm at home. My son is at County General, ICU, room 412. His name is Danny Shelby. Please, you need to send someone right now. Sir, are you at the hospital currently? No, I'm banned from the hospital. But I have someone there who witnessed them preparing to inject him with something that will kill him. And who is this witness? A nurse. Emma. I don't know her last name. There was a pause. Sir, I'm going to send officers to check on your son, but I need you to stay where you are. Do you understand? Do not go to the hospital. Yes, okay, just please hurry. I hung up and immediately violated that instruction. I grabbed my keys and ran to my truck. I knew I'd be arrested the moment I set foot in that hospital. I knew I was violating the restraining order, the trespass ban, probably half a dozen laws, but my son was dying. Nothing else mattered. I drove 90 miles an hour down empty highways, made it to County General in 8 minutes, parked illegally right at the emergency entrance, ran inside. The night security guard recognized me immediately, reached for his radio. I'm calling the police, Mr. Shelby. You need to leave right now. Call them. But I'm going to the ICU first. I ran past him. He shouted after me. I heard him calling for backup into his radio. Didn't care. I took the stairs 2 at a time, burst onto the ICU floor. Emma was at the nurse's station. Her eyes went wide when she saw me. Where are they? I gasped. She pointed. Danny's room. They're in there now. I ran, threw open the door. Dr. Hayes stood next to Danny's bed. In his hand was a syringe. Courtney stood on the other side, watching. On the bed, my son lay motionless, tubes and wires connecting him to machines that beeped steadily. Stop, I shouted. Hayes spun around. Courtney's face went through a series of expressions. Shock, fear, then calculation. Security, she screamed. Help! He's attacking us! Hayes moved the syringe toward his pocket, trying to hide it. I lunged forward, grabbed his wrist. He was younger than me, stronger. We struggled. The syringe fell from his hand, bounced across the floor, rolled under a medical cart. Get off him! Courtney screamed. I shoved Hayes backward, pointed at the syringe. That's the murder weapon. That's what he was going to inject into my son. Security guards burst through the door. 3 of them. They grabbed me, pulled me away from Hayes. This man is trespassing, Hayes said, breathing hard, trying to sound authoritative. He's under a restraining order. He attacked me. Check that syringe, I shouted. Check what's in it. It's not medicine. It's poison. It's potassium chloride. It'll stop Danny's heart. One of the security guards spoke into his radio. We need police up here, and administration. We have a situation. Courtney was crying now, playing her role. I just want to be with my husband. Why is he doing this to us? More people arrived. Hospital administrators, police officers, the ICU supervisor. Everyone was talking at once. Security guards held me firmly. Someone retrieved the syringe from under the cart. An administrator took it, examined it. What is this, Dr. Hayes? Hayes's face had gone pale. It's a medication I was preparing to administer to Mr. Shelby per his care plan. What medication? I'd need to check the chart to give you the exact name. Check it now. Hayes went to the computer terminal, typed, scrolled. His hands were shaking slightly. It should be listed here, under pain management. Emma stepped forward. That's not from our medication supply. I'm familiar with every drug we stock in the ICU. That syringe didn't come from our pharmacy. She doesn't even work here anymore, Courtney said quickly. She was fired. She's not a credible witness. A police officer held up his hand. Everyone needs to calm down. We're going to sort this out systematically. Dr. Hayes, I need you to tell me exactly what's in that syringe. Hayes opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I need to speak with my attorney. The room went silent. The ICU supervisor took the syringe carefully. I'm sending this to the lab for analysis immediately. Another police officer arrived. She looked at me. Mr. Shelby, we received a 911 call from you about 20 minutes ago. We were already on our way when we got the call about a disturbance. I need you to explain what's happening here. So I did. Standing there, held by security guards, with my son unconscious behind me, and his wife and would-be murderer staring at me with hatred, I explained everything. The video I'd recorded, Marcus and Gerald, Carl and Patricia, the pattern of murders, the life insurance policies, the affair between Courtney and Hayes. Courtney kept shaking her head, crying, insisting I was delusional. But Hayes was silent now, sweating, looking at the floor. These are serious allegations, the officer said. Dr. Hayes, I'm going to need you to come to the station to answer some questions. Am I under arrest? Not at this time. But we need your full cooperation. Hayes looked at Courtney. Something passed between them. Then he said, I want my attorney present for any questioning. The officer nodded. That's your right, but we're taking possession of that syringe, and we'll be reviewing all of Mr. Danny Shelby's medical records. If there's evidence of tampering or inappropriate care, there will be consequences. Courtney found her voice. This is harassment. This man has been making wild accusations for days. He's under a restraining order. He attacked Dr. Hayes. You need to arrest him. Ma'am, we'll get to that. But right now, we're focused on the welfare of the patient. The officer looked at me. Mr. Shelby, you did violate a court order by coming here. We're going to have to take you into custody. But first, I need to know, do you have this video evidence you mentioned? I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, showed her the video from the stairwell. She watched it twice. Her expression grew more serious. We're going to need to take your phone as evidence. And I'm calling for a detective. This is beyond a simple disturbance call. Over the next 2 hours, County General Hospital's ICU floor became a crime scene. Detectives arrived. The hospital administrator called in the board of directors. The syringe was sent for emergency analysis. Security footage was reviewed. Medical records were audited. And slowly, methodically, the truth emerged. The syringe contained a lethal dose of potassium chloride, not a medication used in pain management. A drug that, when injected directly into an IV line, causes immediate cardiac arrest that looks like natural heart failure. Dr. Hayes, faced with physical evidence and multiple witnesses, cracked. He requested an attorney, but started talking anyway, trying to save himself. He claimed Courtney had seduced him, manipulated him, convinced him that Danny was abusive, that she needed to escape, that this was self-defense. He'd been in love. He'd made terrible choices, but it was all Courtney's idea. She'd planned everything. He admitted to tampering with Danny's IV medications over the past 3 days, giving him drugs that mimicked organ failure. Admitted to falsifying medical records. Admitted that the car accident hadn't been an accident at all. Courtney had drugged Danny's morning coffee with sedatives, timed it so he'd be impaired while driving to work. Hayes had been following in his own car, ready to cause a collision if the drugs didn't work. The drugs had worked. Danny had crashed into a telephone pole going 50 miles an hour. Courtney denied everything. Screamed that Hayes was lying, that he was trying to frame her. But detectives found text messages between them going back 8 months. Found financial records showing Hayes had gambling debts of over $200,000. Found emails discussing the insurance payout and how they'd split it. They arrested both of them. Attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, a dozen other charges. Within hours, the FBI agent Gerald had contacted arrived. With Patricia's testimony about Carl, Gerald's documentation about Marcus, and my evidence about Danny, the FBI opened a full investigation into Courtney as a serial killer operating across multiple states. They found two more potential victims, men who died in suspicious accidents, widows who matched Courtney's description. She'd been doing this for at least 12 years, possibly longer. At least 5 men dead, at least $8 million collected in insurance payouts over the years. The hospital immediately changed Danny's care plan, brought in new doctors, independent specialists, began treating the drug poisoning Hayes had inflicted. Within 48 hours, Danny's condition stabilized. Within a week, he regained consciousness. I was there when he woke up. The hospital had dropped the trespass order. Courtney's restraining order was vacated. I could finally be with my son. He was confused at first, disoriented. The doctors explained he'd been systematically poisoned, that it would take time for his body to heal, but when he saw me sitting by his bed, tears in my eyes, he reached out his hand. "Dad? I'm here, son. I'm right here." "What happened?" "I remember the crash. Then everything's foggy. You've been very sick. But you're going to be okay now. You're safe." Over the next days and weeks, as Danny recovered, I told him everything. About Courtney, about Hayes, about the murder plot, about Marcus and Carl and the other victims. He was devastated. The woman he'd loved, trusted, married, had never been real. She'd been a predator who'd chosen him as prey. He grieved for his lost marriage, like he would grieve a death. Because in a way, that's what it was, the death of who he thought she was. My daughter came to visit, apologized through tears for not believing me, for abandoning me when I needed her. We held each other and cried, and slowly started rebuilding our family. Emma got her job back with a formal apology from the hospital. They offered her a promotion and a raise. She deserved so much more, but at least her nursing license was safe, her reputation restored. Gerald finally got justice for his brother Marcus. The Oregon police reopened Marcus's case based on the new evidence. Courtney would face murder charges there too. Patricia got closure for Carl. Arizona authorities did the same. The FBI discovered that Courtney's real name was Michelle Harlow. She'd been born in Texas, had a juvenile record for theft and fraud. She'd been running cons since her 20s. Marriage and murder had been her most profitable scheme, but not her first. The trial took 18 months. Courtney fought every charge, claimed she was innocent, that everyone was lying, that this was all a conspiracy. But the evidence was overwhelming. Text messages, financial records, the syringe, Hayes' testimony, the pattern across 5 victims in 4 states. She was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. The judge sentenced her to life in prison without possibility of parole. Hayes got 25 years for his role in Danny's attempted murder. He'd be an old man before he saw freedom again. Danny made a full recovery. It took months of physical therapy and counseling, but he healed. He sold his business, unable to face going back after everything that happened. Took time to figure out who he was, apart from the life Courtney had manipulated him into building. He moved in with me for a while. We spent evenings sitting on my porch, drinking coffee, talking about everything we'd lost and everything we'd found. We'd both been given a second chance, and we weren't going to waste it. My relationship with my daughter healed too. She brought her kids over for Sunday dinners. We became a family again, closer than we'd been before. Trauma had broken us, but it had also shown us what mattered. Emma and I stayed friends. She'd risked everything to help a stranger save his son. That kind of courage creates bonds that last forever. I think about that night in the hospital often. The moment I burst through Danny's door and saw Hayes standing there with that syringe. How close we came to losing everything. If Emma hadn't warned me, if Gerald hadn't found me, if Patricia hadn't recognized Courtney's photo, if I'd given up when everyone told me I was wrong. My son is alive because I trusted my instincts. Because I refused to stop fighting, even when the whole world was telling me I was crazy. There's a lesson in that. When you know something's wrong, when every instinct in your body is screaming danger, trust that. Don't let anyone convince you to ignore your gut. Parents know their children. We see things others miss. We feel things others can't. And sometimes, fighting for the people we love means standing alone, means looking like a fool, means risking everything. But family is worth it. Truth is worth it. Justice is worth it. Danny turned 70 last month. We celebrated with a quiet dinner. Just family. He gave a toast. Thanked everyone for being there, for supporting him through the darkest time of his life. Then he looked at me. "Dad saved my life," he said simply. "When everyone else thought I was going to die, when everyone else had given up, he never stopped fighting. That's what fathers do." I couldn't speak, could only nod and grip his hand, and thank God I still had him. We've been given a gift, a second chance. Every day with my son, with my daughter, with my grandchildren, is a day I almost didn't have. I don't take any of it for granted anymore. Courtney sits in prison now. Hayes, too. Their lives are over. They'll never hurt anyone again. And my son is alive, healthy, happy, building a new life with wisdom earned through suffering. That's the victory. Not revenge or punishment, though justice matters. The real victory is family restored, love redeemed, a father and son who almost lost each other, now inseparable. Every morning when I wake up, I'm grateful. Grateful for instincts that wouldn't be silenced. Grateful for people like Emma, who risk everything to do what's right. Grateful for allies like Gerald and Patricia, who fought for justice when it would have been easier to give up. Grateful that truth, no matter how deeply buried, eventually rises to the surface. My wife used to say that love makes you brave. I understand that now in ways I never did when she was alive. Love for my son gave me courage to stand alone, to fight when fighting seemed futile, to trust myself when everyone else said I was wrong. If you're out there listening to this story, and you're facing something similar, if your instincts are telling you someone you love is in danger, if everyone around you says you're overreacting, or paranoid or wrong, I want you to hear this. Trust yourself. Trust your love. Trust that bone-deep knowledge parents have about their children. Keep fighting. Don't give up. Don't let anyone silence your voice or make you doubt what you know to be true. The system doesn't always work quickly. Justice doesn't always come easily. You might stand alone for a while. You might lose things. Reputation, money, relationships. But if you're fighting for someone's life, none of that matters. Keep going. Keep pushing. Keep believing. Because in the end, love wins. Truth wins. Good people win. And family, the family you fight for and die for, and refuse to abandon no matter what, that family is worth everything. Danny and I sit on my porch sometimes, watching the sunset, not talking much, just being together, being alive together. That's all that matters. That simple, precious gift of another day. We almost lost it, but we didn't, and I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful for that. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a moment when your instincts told you something was wrong, but everyone around you said you were overreacting? How did you handle it? Did you trust yourself, or did you let others convince you to ignore what you felt? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the people you love, and how far you'd go to protect them, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories. And if you want to hear more true stories about courage, family, and justice, subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe someone who's fighting their own battle. Maybe someone who feels alone and standing up for what's right. Sometimes knowing you're not the only one makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you never face what I faced, but if you do, I hope my experience gives you strength. Trust yourself. Fight for your family. Never give up. Until next time, take care of each other, hold your loved ones close, and remember that every day together is a gift.